When the blood type results shattered everything I thought was true, I didn't lose my mind. I found my backbone. My name is Aaron Blake, and I'm 37 years old. Each morning, I wake up in the house I fought to keep, where for a decade I packed lunches and checked homework, believing Ava and Jack were mine. My friend and attorney Ryan Cho taught me that evidence builds better cases than anger ever could. So I documented everything. The secret phone in the flower tin, the hotel receipts, the photos with Vic Shaw spanning 10 years of calculated deception. My children's mother, Carla Blake, had crafted an elaborate lie that was about to unravel. Some might expect rage. Instead, I chose discipline. When you've been betrayed this deeply, justice isn't about losing control. It's about standing your ground. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. But let me start from the beginning. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the ER as I waited for the nurse to return with my test results. A simple fall from Jack's treehouse had brought us here. Just some stitches needed, nothing serious. I remembered the way he'd gripped my hand when they drew blood, brave but scared. Now he was asleep in the waiting room with Carla while I handled the paperwork. The nurse's rubber soles squeaked against the linoleum as she approached, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Blake, there seems to be a discrepancy with your blood type." Her voice carried that carefully neutral tone medical professionals use when something's off. What kind of discrepancy? My mouth went dry. According to our records from Jack's previous visits, there's a mismatch that shouldn't be possible given the listed parentage. She glanced at her notes. "You're O positive, correct?" I nodded, my fingers gripping the plastic chair arms. "Well, given Jack's blood type, that wouldn't be." She trailed off, probably seeing something in my expression. "You may want to discuss this with your family doctor." The drive home felt endless. Carla kept glancing at me, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. Jack slept in the back seat, completely unaware that his tumble from the treehouse had knocked loose something much bigger than a few scrapes. Once home, we tucked Jack into bed. I still kissed his forehead. How could I not? He was my son in every way that mattered. But now questions burned in my throat. In our bedroom, Carla paced like a caged animal. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching her move back and forth. "Aaron, you're making this into something it's not," she said, her voice tight. "Genetics are weird sometimes. Not this weird." I kept my voice steady, even as my heart hammered. "Blood types follow rules, Carla. Basic biology. Who is he?" "No one." She spun to face me. "You're overreacting to a simple medical mix-up." "A mix-up?" I could taste bitter coffee from hours ago. "I'm O positive, Carla. That means Jack can't be." I stopped, swallowed hard. "And if Jack isn't, then Ava..." "Stop it." Her mascara was smudged now. "They're your children, you've raised them, nothing else matters." "Everything matters." I stood up slowly. 10 years of everything matters. "And we're going to test." She froze mid-pace, her back to me. The ceiling fan ticked above us, counting seconds of silence. "If you're so certain there's nothing to worry about," I said, "then you'll agree to DNA testing. For both kids." Her shoulders slumped. When she turned, tears tracked down her cheeks, but I knew they weren't for me. She'd held this secret for years. Now it was slipping through her fingers. "Fine," she whispered. That one word confirmed everything. I watched my wife walk into our ensuite bathroom and close the door, leaving me alone with a truth I'd never asked for but couldn't unknow. The next morning, my hands shook as I typed in my credit card details. 2 DNA test kits, rush delivery. They arrived in plain brown packaging 2 days later. I remember holding those sterile swabs, thinking how strange it was that a few cotton fibers could rewrite a decade of bedtime stories and school plays. Carla watched from the doorway as I swabbed both kids' cheeks. "It's just a formality," she said, but her voice wavered. The children thought it was a game, laughing as I explained we were doing science. If only they knew. You ever notice how time moves differently when you're waiting for news that could shatter your world? Those 2 weeks stretched like taffy. I threw myself into routines, making lunches, checking homework, building that new treehouse section Jack had been begging for. The smell of fresh-cut cedar almost made things feel normal. When the results finally hit my inbox, I sat in my parked car outside work for 20 minutes before I could click the link. The data swam before my eyes, but one detail jumped out: a partial match. Just enough genetic markers to suggest one of them, maybe Ava, could be mine. Hope cracked the door open just a sliver. Maybe this wasn't as bad as I'd feared. Maybe there was just one mistake, one moment of weakness years ago. I wanted to believe that so badly my chest ached. That night, after the kids were asleep, I wandered the kitchen looking for… what? Reassurance? Answers? The house felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I opened cabinets aimlessly, not even sure what I was searching for until I heard it. A soft buzz from inside the flour tin. The phone wasn't ours. Older model, cheap case. My stomach dropped as I swiped the screen alive. No password protection. Carla's secret line, I realized as photos filled the screen. The first one punched the air from my lungs. Carla and Vic Shaw, his arm around her waist. The timestamp read 8 years ago. I kept scrolling, each swipe revealing more truth than I could bear. Vic at what looked like a hotel pool. Carla in places I'd never seen. Both of them, again and again, across a decade of hidden moments. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't even an affair. This was a second life, running parallel to our marriage like a shadow mocking everything I thought was real. The kitchen counter kept me upright as memories reframed themselves. Vic at neighborhood barbecues, playing the role of casual acquaintance. Business trips that never quite added up. Girls' nights that left no trace on our shared credit cards. 10 years. 10 years of lies stacked like bricks into a wall between what I thought I knew and what was true. My hand steadied as I set the phone down. The partial DNA match felt hollow now. Probably just a statistical overlap. Everything I'd built my life around was engineered by two people who'd watched me raise their children, smile at their secret jokes, trust their convenient excuses. I closed the phone, and in that simple action, something shifted inside me. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about justice, about consequences, about making sure they never got to enjoy the comfort of their lies again. The kitchen clock ticked past midnight. Somewhere upstairs, my children, because whatever genetics said they were mine in every way that mattered, slept peacefully. I wouldn't let Carla and Vic's deception poison that, but I also wouldn't let them win. The morning after finding the phone, I called Ryan Cho. We'd been friends since college, and he'd become one of the city's sharpest family law attorneys. His office voicemail kicked in, but within minutes my cell buzzed. "Aaron, what's wrong?" The concern in his tone told me he'd caught something in my message. I rubbed my temple, forcing the words out. "I need your help, Ryan. Professional help." The story spilled out. The blood type, the DNA test, the hidden phone. Each detail landed like a stone in still water. "Don't say another word," Ryan cut in. "Meet me at Giuseppe's, the back booth." 30 minutes later, I sat across from him, watching his face as he processed everything. The lunch crowd's chatter wrapped around us like a privacy screen. Remember those red vinyl booths? The ones that squeaked every time you shifted? Funny how your mind catches on details when your world's falling apart. "First thing," Ryan said, sliding a legal pad between us. "We document everything. Official lab work, not just home tests. Then we pull financials. 10 years leaves a trail, Aaron. Credit cards, bank statements, property records." His pen scratched across the paper. "We'll need account histories, especially any joint holdings or transfers." I leaned forward. "She's got a separate account. Says it's for household stuff. Perfect starting point." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "We'll run forensics on that. Look for patterns, regular withdrawals, hidden assets." He tapped his pen. "Most important, you stay calm. No confrontations without evidence. No threats. No drama." I nodded, thinking of the kids. "I won't lose control." "Good." Ryan wrote one last note. "Because we're building a case, not just gathering dirt. Every receipt, every statement, every document matters." Over the next few days, I moved like a ghost through my own life, making breakfast, dropping kids at school, working, all while methodically gathering proof. Each night after bedtime stories, I'd scan documents, save statements, build the file Ryan needed. Finally, on a Thursday evening, I laid it all out on our dining room table. The same table where we'd celebrated birthdays, helped with homework, played board games on rainy Sundays. Now it held a different kind of family history. Hotel receipts, ATM withdrawals, time-stamped photos. Carla walked in from her book club meeting, freezing when she saw the papers. "What's all this?" "Sit down." My voice stayed level. "We need to talk." She sank into her usual chair, face already shifting into defensive mode. I slid the first bank statement across. "Want to explain these hotel charges?" Those are work events." Her fingers trembled as she pushed the paper away. "Try again." I laid out more evidence. 10 years of work events with Vic Shaw? "You've been so distant," she burst out. "Always working late, always distracted." "No." I cut her off. "You don't get to rewrite history. I was here every day raising those kids. They're still yours." She reached for my hand. I pulled back. "In every way that matters, Aaron. Biology doesn't change." "Stop." The word came out sharp enough to make her flinch. "I'm filing for divorce. You can make this simple or complicated, but it's happening." Tears welled in her eyes. "Please, we can work through 2 conditions." I kept my voice steady. "You won't touch my retirement accounts, and you'll tell Vic Shaw he needs to show up. No more hiding." Her makeup smeared as she wiped her eyes. "Aaron, please. Those are my terms, Carla. Take them or we do this the hard way." Ryan's efficiency amazed me. Within days of our meeting, he'd filed for temporary orders, pushing for exclusive use of the house and a structured schedule with the kids. The morning of the hearing, I straightened my tie in the courthouse bathroom mirror, remembering how Ava used to help by tugging it crooked every morning before school. "Ready?" Ryan appeared behind me, briefcase in hand. As I'll ever be. The courtroom felt smaller than I'd expected. Carla sat with her attorney, a sharp-suited man who kept whispering in her ear. The judge, an older man with steel-rimmed glasses, reviewed our paperwork with practiced efficiency. Ryan presented our case clearly. I'd been the primary caregiver, maintained the home, and needed stability for the children's sake. When Carla's attorney tried painting me as controlling for wanting the house, Ryan simply produced my documentation. School pickup records, doctor's appointments, even grocery receipts showing I'd done most of the shopping. "Your Honor," Ryan concluded, "Mr. Blake has been the foundation of this household. Maintaining that stability serves everyone's interests." The judge took off his glasses, looking directly at me. "Mr. Blake, are you prepared to facilitate reasonable contact between the children and their mother?" "Yes, Your Honor. I want them to have both parents in their lives." He nodded, replacing his glasses. "I'm granting the temporary order. Mr. Blake will have exclusive use of the marital home. Parenting time will be split equally on a week-on, week-off basis." Relief washed through me. That evening, I walked through my house, straightening picture frames and organizing the kitchen. Remember those little magnetic letters on the fridge? I arranged them into home while dinner cooked, trying to create some sense of normal for when Ava and Jack returned. The next few days felt almost peaceful. The kids adjusted to the new schedule better than I'd feared. Jack still wanted his bedtime stories. Ava still complained about math homework. I started believing we could make this work. Then the envelope came. I recognized the lab's logo immediately. My hands shook as I picked it up from the mail pile. It felt too light to carry such weight. I set it on the kitchen counter and stared at it through dinner prep, through washing dishes, through locking up for the night. Finally, sitting at the dining room table, I broke the seal. The medical language blurred together until my eyes found the conclusion. Excludes Aaron Blake as the biological father of both tested minors. My chest squeezed tight. The hope I'd been nursing, that maybe, just maybe, one of them was mine, evaporated. I read it again, willing the words to change. They didn't. I don't remember walking to my car. But suddenly I was there, sitting in the driveway, report crumpled in my fist, staring at nothing. The steering wheel caught the last bits of sunset, throwing shadows across the dashboard. Time stretched like taffy as I sat, perfectly still, letting the truth sink into my bones. Neither of them. Not one. All those years. All those moments. Bedtime stories, scraped knees, Christmas mornings, built on lies. The paper trembled in my hands. The morning light filtered through my office blinds as I scrolled through emails. A message from Ryan caught my eye. Urgent. Call me. My stomach dropped before I even dialed. Vic Shaw filed a paternity petition this morning, Ryan said without preamble. He's seeking genetic testing and parental rights. I leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking. He had 10 years to step up. Now he wants to play dad? There's more. Ryan's voice tightened. Carla filed an affidavit with some creative interpretations of your relationship. She's painting you as controlling, manipulative. What? The word came out sharp enough to make my assistant glance through the glass partition. I lowered my voice. I kept every receipt, documented every... I know. We'll counter with facts. But Aaron, people are going to talk. They already were. Walking to my car that afternoon, I caught Susan from accounting whispering to her lunch group. They scattered like startled birds when they saw me. At the grocery store, Mrs. Henderson from 2 doors down suddenly became fascinated with comparing pasta brands when I turned down her aisle. The rumors spread like oil on water. According to the gossip, I was everything from an emotional abuser to a financial controller. Each new whisper twisted the knife deeper. I remembered the block party last summer, grilling burgers while Carla chatted with these same neighbors. Now they looked through me like I was already gone. That night I found a Facebook post from Carla, vague but pointed. Sometimes those who seem perfect to the world show a different face at home. The comments filled with hearts and supportive messages. My throat burned reading them. Every "stay strong" felt like another brick in the wall being built between me and the life I'd known. A week of this stretched my nerves thin. Driving to court on a gray Thursday morning, I spotted Vic's truck in the parking lot. The same truck I'd seen in those hidden photos, now brazenly taking up space in my world. The steering wheel creaked under my grip, knuckles going white. I pulled into a spot far from his truck and just sat there. The weight of it all, the betrayal, the lies, the public humiliation, pressed down on my chest until I couldn't breathe right. Those photos in the phone haunted me. 10 years of secret smiles, stolen moments, all while I read bedtime stories and packed lunchboxes. Remember how Jack used to insist on wearing his Superman cape to the grocery store? How Ava would only eat sandwiches if I cut them into triangles? The memories hit like body blows. My vision blurred. The first tear fell before I could stop it, then another. I let them come, finally, here in the privacy of my car. My shoulders shook with silent sobs as a decade of pain poured out. 1 minute. That's all I allowed myself. I grabbed tissues from the console, wiped my face, and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. My eyes were red, but they were steady. I straightened my tie, grabbed my briefcase, and stepped out into the morning air. The courthouse rose before me, its stone facade stern and impassive. Through the glass doors I could see people moving in the security line. Somewhere in there, Carla and Vic waited with their lawyers and their lies. I took one deep breath, then another. The air tasted like rain. Inside the courtroom, the air felt thick with tension. I sat behind the polished oak table next to Ryan, watching as he rose smoothly to address Judge Martinez. My attorney friend had transformed into a precise legal instrument, every word calculated. Your Honor, will demonstrate that Aaron Blake has served as the psychological parent to both children for their entire lives. Ryan's voice carried authority. The standard for psychological parenthood is clear, and Mr. Blake exceeds every criterion. I pulled out the accordion file we'd prepared, organized by year. My hands were steady, but my heart hammered against my ribs. Across the aisle, Carla sat rigid beside her counsel, while Vic slouched in his chair, radiating impatience. Permission to approach? Ryan asked, and at the judge's nod, he carried forward the first set of documents. These are 10 years of school registration forms signed by Mr. Blake. Every parent-teacher conference, every field trip permission slip. I remembered filling out Ava's kindergarten forms, how she'd insisted on helping by drawing flowers in the margins. The memory tightened my throat. Additionally, Ryan continued, We have medical records showing Mr. Blake as the consenting parent for every procedure, every vaccination. He laid out more papers. Here are photographs documenting Mr. Blake's consistent presence at bedtime routines, holiday celebrations, and daily activities. The images told our story, me reading Goodnight Moon for the 100th time, teaching Jack to ride his bike, building Ava's science fair volcano. Each photo was dated, each moment real. Your Honor, Carla's attorney interjected, these common parental activities don't override biological. If I may, Ryan cut in smoothly, I'd like to introduce Exhibit C. He produced a thick folder. These are financial records showing Mrs. Blake's unauthorized home equity line of credit, bearing what appears to be Mr. Blake's forged signature. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Carla's face drained of color. The judge leaned forward, examining the documents with narrowed eyes. Furthermore, Ryan pressed his advantage, we have evidence of Mr. Shaw's involvement. He produced bank statements showing transfers from Vic to Carla, all backdated to appear legitimate. These transactions correlate precisely with Mrs. Blake's unauthorized withdrawals. More gasps. Vic's attorney frantically whispered to him, but Vic just stared at the ceiling, jaw clenched. I watched him, remembering all those secret photos of him with my wife, and felt something close to pity. He'd never wanted this responsibility, and now he was trapped in it. Judge Martinez's gavel cracked against wood. We'll recess for 1 hour while I review these materials. Her tone was careful, controlled, but her expression had shifted. In the hallway, Ryan touched my shoulder. That went well, he said quietly. I nodded, watching Carla hurry past with her attorney, her heels clicking against marble. The sound reminded me of all those nights she'd come home late, claiming work meetings. How many of those nights had she actually spent with Vic? The financials surprised them, Ryan continued. They weren't prepared for that level of documentation. I leaned against the cool wall, loosening my tie slightly. Think it's enough? The judge's face when she saw those forged documents? Ryan allowed himself a small smile. Let's just say I've never seen evidence land quite that hard. The hour crawled by like molasses in January. I paced the courthouse hallway, remembering weekend breakfasts at our kitchen table, the way sunlight would stream through those west-facing windows. Would I get to keep that table? Those memories? That home? When the bailiff called us back, my footsteps echoed against marble. The courtroom felt smaller now, more confined, as if the walls had inched closer during recess. I straightened my tie, took my seat, and waited. Judge Martinez entered, his black robes rustling as he settled behind the bench. He arranged several papers before him, each movement deliberate. The silence stretched until I could hear the ancient wall clock ticking away seconds. Having reviewed all evidence presented, he began, his voice clear and firm, this court finds compelling proof of financial misconduct on the part of Mrs. Carla Blake and Mr. Victor Shaw. He paused, looking directly at Carla. The unauthorized home equity line of credit obtained through forgery represents a serious breach of fiduciary duty. Ryan's hand touched my arm briefly, a silent signal to stay composed. Across the aisle, Carla's attorney shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Furthermore, Judge Martinez continued, the pattern of concealed transfers between Mr. Shaw and Mrs. Blake demonstrates a calculated effort to diminish marital assets. He lifted another document. In light of these findings, the court rules on property division as follows. My chest tightened. This was it. The moment that would define my financial future. Mr. Aaron Blake shall retain full ownership of the marital home at 1542 Maple Street, free of any claim by Mrs. Blake. The judge's words rang clear as cathedral bells. Additionally, Mr. Blake shall retain his entire retirement account, investment portfolio, and personal property within the home. I kept my face neutral, though relief flooded through me like a breaking fever. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd built, it was safe. Mrs. Blake, Judge Martinez fixed her with a stern look. You are ordered to vacate the premises within 48 hours. You may remove only your personal effects with a court officer present to supervise. Carla's face crumpled. She turned to stare at me, her eyes hollow and desperate, but I kept my gaze forward. How many times had she looked at me with false sincerity across our kitchen table, feeding me lies while I passed the salt? The judge gathered another set of papers, his expression growing more serious. We will now address the matter of custody regarding the minor children, Ava and Jack Blake. My pulse quickened. Winning the house and assets was crucial, but this was what really mattered. I thought of Ava's science homework spread across the dining room table, of Jack's baseball gear by the garage door. Would I still have the right to help with equations, to coach Little League? Before proceeding, Judge Martinez said, adjusting his glasses, I want to ensure all parties understand the gravity of these next determinations. I gripped the edge of the table, feeling the smooth wood under my fingers, the same fingers that had buttoned tiny coats, tied small shoes, wiped away tears. Everything hung in the balance now. The judge drew a breath, and I found myself holding mine. In the matter of custody, Judge Martinez began, the court acknowledges the complex dynamics at play. While DNA evidence has established Mr. Shaw's biological paternity, we cannot discount Mr. Blake's decade-long role as psychological parent. My throat tightened. 10 years of birthdays, nightmares, and chicken soup when they were sick? Could all that be measured in a courtroom? Primary physical custody of both minor children shall remain with Mrs. Blake. The words hit like a physical blow, but I forced myself to keep breathing. There had to be more. Judge Martinez continued, however, given Mr. Blake's demonstrated commitment to their welfare, he shall retain full decision-making authority regarding education, medical care, and extracurricular activities. Ryan nodded slightly beside me. This was significant. I'd still have a voice in their lives. Furthermore, the judge added, Mr. Blake shall have liberal visitation rights to be exercised at his discretion and reasonable notification. There shall be no restriction on frequency or duration of these visits, provided they do not interfere with school attendance. The knot in my chest loosened slightly. I could still be there for science fairs, baseball games, quiet Sunday breakfasts. As to Mr. Shaw, Judge Martinez's tone grew stern. Having established biological paternity, you are hereby ordered to pay child support in accordance with state guidelines. He named a figure that made Vic's face pale. Additionally, you will maintain a consistent visitation schedule to be coordinated through the court's Family Services Division. I glanced at Vic, watching reality settle over him like a heavy coat. He'd wanted the title of father. Now he was getting the bill. Mr. Blake, the judge turned to me. You are released from any financial obligations regarding the children's support. He paused, making eye contact. However, given your established relationship, you may continue to contribute voluntarily as you see fit. Of course I would. Money had never been what made me their father. As the judge concluded, Carla and Vic huddled with their attorneys. I could see them trying to project unity, but their body language told a different story. Vic kept checking his phone, while Carla's whispers grew increasingly sharp. That's going to be an expensive reality check, Ryan murmured beside me. They gathered their things, heading for the door together. Vic held it open for Carla, but I caught their exchange. We need to talk about these payments, he muttered. Not now, Carla hissed back. Just, not now. I watched them walk down the courthouse hallway, their footsteps out of sync. They looked less like a couple and more like two people caught in the same storm, grudgingly sharing an umbrella. Vic's shoulders were tense, Carla's chin high but trembling. They'd thought exposing their affair would free them. Instead, they'd bound themselves together with court orders and obligations. From my seat in the courtroom, I could already see the cracks forming. Every monthly payment would be a fresh argument. Every scheduling conflict would reopen old wounds. They'd built their relationship on secrets and stolen moments. But there are no shadows left to hide in when you're standing in front of a judge. I watched until they disappeared around the corner, their footsteps fading into the general noise of the courthouse. 3 weeks after the ruling, I was crossing the grocery store parking lot when I spotted them. Carla and Vic stood beside his truck, faces tight with anger. Even from a distance, their body language screamed tension, her arms crossed, his hands cutting through the air as he spoke. I couldn't hear the words, but I recognized the subject. Money. It was written in every frustrated gesture. I loaded my bags and drove home, grateful for the peace I'd found. The house felt different now, lighter somehow. Gone were the flower tins hiding phones, the careful dance of suspicion. In their place was simple, honest quiet. The next afternoon, Ava called from Carla's phone. "Dad, can you come get us? Mom and Vic are fighting again." 20 minutes later, I pulled up to find both kids waiting on the front steps, backpacks ready. Through the window, I could see Carla and Vic in another heated discussion. Vic jabbed his finger at some papers, probably bills, while Carla threw her hands up in exasperation. "They do this all the time now," Jack said quietly from the back seat. I met his eyes in the rearview mirror. "You're always welcome at my house, buddy. Both of you are." Back home, we fell into our familiar rhythm. The kids had their rooms ready, just as they'd left them. While they settled in, I started dinner, the kitchen filling with the smell of baked chicken and rosemary. Remember when cooking used to feel like walking through a minefield, wondering if each meal would trigger another tense silence? Now it was just about feeding the people I loved. That weekend I'd planned something special. The cedar beams for the treehouse had arrived, a project we'd talked about for years but never started. Now felt like the perfect time. "Can we help?" Ava asked, watching me sort the lumber on the back deck. "That's the whole point," I smiled. "Come here, both of you." I showed them how to measure twice, cut once, how to check for level and square. Jack handed me nails while Ava held the measuring tape, both of them soaking up every detail like they always had. When we got to the main support beam, I pulled out a woodworking chisel. "This part's important," I said. "This beam's going to hold everything up. It should carry our marks." Their eyes lit up. One by one, we carved our initials into the cedar. The wood was soft enough to work easily, but strong enough to last. Just like the truth, I thought. Once you let it out, it settles into place and holds firm. "Will it stay forever?" Jack asked, running his fingers over the letters. "That's the plan, buddy." I stood back, watching them trace the carved lines again and again. The late afternoon sun caught in Ava's hair, gleamed off Jack's serious expression as he studied our handiwork. A breeze carried the sweet scent of cedar shavings across the deck. Looking up at the sky, feeling the solid wood under my palm and the even stronger certainty in my heart, I said it out loud. Truth kept what love began. The kids looked at me, then back at their initials, understanding in their own way. We'd built something real here, not just the beginning of a treehouse, but the continuation of a family. Different shape, maybe, but just as strong. Stronger even, because now it rested on honest ground. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.